everybody's not here so they can hear this. As chair, I wish to make a request of you this afternoon. When you desire to speak or make a motion, please start by recognizing the chair with the words, Madam Chair, while speaking into your mic. And speak closely into your mic. This is a beautiful meeting room, but it gets hard to recognize your request to speak. You know, it's raining right now. And I'm sure those chairpersons of the committees out there. I think this will help. And secondly, I'm going to ask Gabriel Fire to turn his cell phone off. Your motion forms are on the table in front of you. So, I'm gonna make this thing right at 4 o'clock. Cell phones off. I believe we have an open yet. No. Give you about 1 minute. Okay, 1 minute. This hope is in the parking lot on the conference call. She'll be in shortly. I'll make that statement again. And speak. Close. All right. You speak. Give you a minute and I will start. Now 4:02, the meeting is called to order. Established President Ford. We do have a quorum present. Introduction of attendees. We're going to start in the back, sir.
How you doing? I'm Jim Gavin. I'm president of the Street Memorial Friends of the Library.
Nice to meet you. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Brian?
Eric Bryan, Director of Finance, Cattle Parish Commission.
Glad to have you. I think everybody else is staff. We are so glad to have you. Let us pause for a moment of silent meditation. Public comment. Our public comment period is limited to a cumulative total of 15 minutes, both far and advanced, on any given issue. Commenters must fill out a card to request time to speak. Those who are present to make such comments are asked to select their speaker or speakers and address the points they wish considered with this limitation in mind. Individual speakers are limited to a total of 3 minutes. Public comment. Public comment. Approval of agenda.
I move that we approve it, accept the agenda as presented. Second.
Been moved by Ms. Bell and second by Ms. Hicks that the agenda is being approved as printed. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The agenda is being approved. Approval of the minutes from September 26, 2016 is our next item. You received your minutes in the mail. Of July 25th, 2016, you have time to look over them. Everybody, see anything that needs correction? I just want to point out, on page 2, Neil Johnson suggested that the board consider the workload of each branch before hiring summer interns. The last statement in that paragraph that I made, that it is written that I made, still being ready to acknowledge that branch managers might not have a need for an intern. I don't think I made that statement. You might need to roll back, but I don't think I made that statement. Okay, and then there are just some typos on page 3. The last line, first paragraph, in reference to the director, stated that he's supposed to give a report on the last strategic plan before starting on the move.
I'm sorry.
Last
I got it.
First paragraph.
You got it?
Yep. You dropped a T.
And further down under reports, outreach, and community contacts, that third circle.
Oh, yes, I see. Add.
I think that's all that. And we get a motion to accept the minutes from July 25th, 2016, because we consider correction.
I move that we accept the minutes of July 25th, 2016 as corrected.
Second.
Second.
Moved and second that the minutes be accepted with the necessary correction being made. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. And the old business, yes, number 5. On your agenda, proposed intern policy.
Yes, ma'am. As you remember from our last meeting, we had a discussion for actually making a policy for hiring of summer interns throughout all of our branches. And there's vigorous discussion. We took everybody's input, and thanks to Ms. Paxton, we now have an intern policy. And we did bring that before the Ms. Wade, and she said we got it for the most part right. We dallied over a word or two, and we've modified it, and now we present it to you.
Has everyone had a chance to take a look at that policy closely? Under the eligibility requirements, I believe that statement is still in there that we talked about. Applicants must, interns in the part-time branches must live outside the Shreveport city limits. Interns in the part-time branches must live outside the Shreveport city limits. And the last statement, preference will be given to applicants applying to work at the branch in the city, village, or town in which they live. Now, I thought that statement would take care of the previous statement, whereas we would need that.
Madam Chair, I need to recommend.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I need to look at, the one that, you discussed yours, I have another one to discuss. Is that it?
No, that's it.
Okay, interns in a part-time branch must live outside the Shreveport city in part-time. What I'm saying that if you have no part-time students who want to work, and it is limited in those towns like we live in, I live in, and the others live in, then that means that would limit, in case that person want a worker, that means we cannot bring that person who lives in the city there. Interns, the part-time branches must live outside the Shreveport city limits. You're saying the ones back in Greenwood, Blanchard, all in the library, that means they must live in the city? I mean, they must live in that town? It's not.
No,
Then what
they
you gonna do?
must
Well,
live
that-
outside the city.
I understand, but suppose you have none of them that want to apply to work in that library need to help, what would you do then?
Well,
And all the ones that apply lives in the city.
I suggest that we go back to what we originally talked about, and striking that sentence and just letting the sentence below that stand, and I think that solves the problem.
Okay.
That way preference will be given to applicants applying to work at the branch in the city, village, or towns in which they live, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to.
Okay, well,
Live
you
in
need
that
to,
city.
okay, put some words.
So we can strike the interns in the part-time branches must live outside the Shreveport city limits.
That last sentence takes care of all that, because the way I was reading it, if you were going to say interns and part-time branches must live outside the city limits, you're gonna have to say interns and full-time branches
On
must
the
live
live
in the
in
city.
right?
Well, the good news about our interns is that thanks to and I'm going to forget the actual, what we call it here is the, food shelter, not the food, the Northwest Louisiana Food Bank, that's what we call it here, the Northwest Louisiana Food Bank has offered to work with us this summer to offer free meals at a lot of our branches, so we have now lots of work for our interns to help us with. So we will be investigating, working with the food bank to offer out free lunches during the summer. So that's part of our intern employment.
Madam Chair, I have another
Yes, ma'am.
concern.
Ms. Bell?
Not have completed 12th grade by the end of the spring semester, so that year, what do you mean? That means that child graduated, he will not be employed, right? I can understand that. No, I can't understand that. I'm sure that, well, what I'm saying is that child, okay, maybe I need to ask you that. Madam Chair, may I ask you?
Yes, ma'am.
If a student work as an intern ninth grade, I mean, you know, if they're age 16, whatever, and they want to work the next year, but they still in school, like a junior, or, you know, that child will not, you know, they want to continue to work, and, you know, you just hire, that means you just hire every year a different child,
Oh, yes, you can only work as an intern one summer.
or only one
You couldn't
summer.
be hired again the next summer.
That's the kind of thing.
And that is in here,
What if they do a
previous,
good
look
job?
at the very,
They just- yeah.
look at the last thing on this page, where it says,
Previous SML summer interns are not eligible to apply again. So if they've been hired one time as an intern, then they're not eligible in subsequent years.
It is my understanding, Madam Chair, that the reason for that is to increase the actual applicant pool so that we have as many students as possible cycle through the library and get that experience.
That's understandable. Thank you, sir. You have a question?
Well, what if you had a summer intern that did a really good job? I mean, why not let them reapply? I mean, and let them work 2 or 3 summers. I mean, if they were very valuable to the library system, and you may have a situation where you don't have that many applicants. I mean, why be so restricted?
How often do we have a small applicant pool?
Yeah, well, you're always large.
So, but it's new to me, to be honest with you, the whole intern game. It's my understanding that the reason we were doing this is to give as many children as possible a chance to get actual on-the-job experience.
No, I agree. I
Okay.
think that's great. How many different type of roles can they rotate through? I mean,
Well, there's only basically, each branch, depending on its size, they can do any number of the duties that are listed here within reason.
So
Somewhere.
how about this summer they do one role, but they can reapply for a different role?
I think it's more that they do all the roles, depending on what day and what job, depending on what they're needed. It's not like they're specific jobs. We're not hiring one of them to work as a reference librarian. We're not hiring one of them to work as a circulation person. They are there to be catch-all, jack-of-all trades, but masters of none. They basically do whatever we need them to do that day. And it could be, one day they could be helping kids with summer reading. The next day it could be putting crafts together. The next day, this summer, we hope it's serving lunches to other children. So it's what the board would like. I mean, we can do whatever.
Okay. You know, we've been doing this for a while, and I have actually been in high schools where children have worked, for the library. And yes, I can understand, if you get a good person, you might want to keep that person, but I feel that you need to get one person and keep them in the same role for 2 or 3 years. I think one of the things we wanted to do was to give the children work experience and to give them work training so that they do know protocol and that they do gain job skills, so that once they actually do get a job, then they'll be able to function more effectively. And with that goal in mind, I think we should give as many children as possible the opportunity to gain the experience.
Okay, and that's what the plan is so far with the staff and children. And that's the purpose.
I mean, that's okay too, but I agree more with, Stacy. I'm just looking at, and I'm just comparing you all, it may not be good, but it's fall. The fall program. Those, when they work for the fall in the summer, they so happy to get children who've been experienced, that worked there last year because they know how to handle the situation. To me, you're gonna have to teach them again every summer, and librarian will have to teach them again how. But I'm saying, of course we will, if everybody can apply. But if maybe we change and get to a point that we've hired everybody that applied, okay? Now, we're looking, and this branch should need another person. Can we look at a person that already have worked in it, maybe some kind of way compromise? Because I just think they get more experience, more and more experience. That's just what I feel about it. I don't know.
Again, whatever the board would like.
Madam Chair, I was going to say, if this is something you wanted to do, what if we were to give preference to students who have never been an intern before? But if we found ourselves in a situation where there wasn't an intern for a particular branch at that point, we could consider any that have applied again for the second or third time, just as we have a preference related to where they're living. Just a suggestion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I have raised my hand to speak again, and she said exactly what I was going to say.
That's a good thing, that we need to, in what way? We need to consider this policy today.
Madam
We
Chair,
need to vote.
there is something else I wanted to point out in the policy, that's why I had my hand raised originally. And, I don't know, I'm looking at, still be enrolled in school, and then not have completed 12th grade by the end of spring semester for that year. Isn't that, redundant? Is that redundant? Because if you completed 12th grade by the end of spring semester for that year, then you're no longer in school.
That's true.
So
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair.
Jim.
That's well, the applications are accepted in the spring, and so one of these statements is saying you have to still be in school, so if you're a high school, if you dropped out of school and you're no longer enrolled, you would not be able to apply for this program. The second statement, not have completed 12th grade, at the time we take applications, those people would still be in school, but at the time the program started, they would no longer be enrolled. So that's the reason for the two separate statements. Does that make sense?
It still says, do we need them both, though, Jenny? Do we need them both?
Well, the first one, still be enrolled in school, is really meaning you have to be in school, you can't have dropped out of school. The second statement is someone at the time that they apply, if they're a senior in their last semester, they would not be eligible because they would have graduated by the time the program starts.
But then, in which case, they're not still in school.
Well, but they would still be in school at the time that they would apply. So I think it's to clarify that. We've had it happen in the past where seniors have applied. And so I believe that statement was added to address those specific situations. You could still be in school at the time you apply, but you would be graduated by the time the program started. If there's a better way to word it, we can certainly change that. But that was the intent of what the statements are.
Madam Chair, why don't we just say that then? Why don't we just say, cannot have graduated. If you have all this still enrolled in school, just say it. You can't do this if you're gonna graduate in May or something like that.
Fill it out. If they don't graduate.
That might be helpful to
Use the word
restate it.
restate.
It's gonna be misunderstood.
Madam Chair, I'm really thinking we may just need to work on the wording, because if you simply say have not completed the 12th grade by the end of the spring semester, well, they could have dropped out. And so they wouldn't be in school. So obviously they haven't completed the 12th grade. If we take out the statement that they have to, when you say still be in school, my thought on that was still be in school in a Kettle Parish High School. I mean, still be in school if you graduate. If you don't have both of those statements, you can have someone who has graduated and they have enrolled at LSUS. They're in school. And that would be a logical argument. So if the wording is causing confusion, we can work on that, but I think both statements are important.
Okay. Madam Chair, I think, remember now, I'm thinking about this, we have summer graduation. Some of them still in school because they just didn't pass the test or something like that, and they still going for the rest of the summer. And summer graduation is in August, that whole. So that, you need to kind of put the words of that too, because that child may not have passed to meet that requirement, but going to pass, but going to graduate during the summer. So maybe we need to, I'm like, the wording that can be put in there. That's completed.
Madam Chair, I understand our need to wordsmith this so that we don't have any, misunderstanding, but we can't legislate every single thing in a policy. Some of it we have to leave up to the discretion of people interviewing. I mean, they're gonna know if they're interviewing people properly. If you got somebody that's, still, if you ask the questions, they're still in school. So I would suggest that we just say, not have graduated from high school by the end of the current school year or something like that, and let that go. If they're still trying to finish school in the summertime, why do they need to be an intern? Would be my next question. Well,
I have a word that occurred to me. I have enrolled in school during the intern period. Would that work?
Does that work?
Could we say high school?
In high school.
Since
Yeah, in high
it's
school.
specific,
Yeah, in high school.
That covers it.
so must be at least 16 years old and must be enrolled in high school during the intern period.
Julia made a statement, and I wanted, it occurred to me, she said something about Caddo Parish. We have never limited students that they must be working, must be going to school in Caddo Parish. We have taken students that live in other parishes. We have also taken students who are homeschooled or who are in, parochial or private schools that hasn't been Caddo Parish public schools. So if y'all are wanting to spell out anything related to that, I guess now would be the time.
Well, the services cover, the library services cover more than Caddo Parish.
Theoretically, Greenville, yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, may I make a suggestion? The staff has heard everything that we've said, and I'm sure they've taken notes on this. Can we ask that this go back for a revision and come back to us at the next meeting with the things that we brought up, the points we brought up? I am moving. We have a motion on the floor currently? Okay. Let me see. I'll fill this out.
May I say something?
Yes,
Preference will be given to applicants applying to work at the branch of the city, village, or town in which they live. Then that, I think, if we are giving preference to those people, then it doesn't mean we can't consider someone who's not in that.
Correct.
That's-
Yeah, I just talked about that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we can't consider anyone. So,
Exactly.
I don't know any further even consider that.
Question, just before we go back and rewrite the policy, have we all basically agreed that an intern, the whole idea is to give everybody an opportunity to get work experience. However, if there is an opening and someone in a certain form is there to fulfill it, it's going to be okay to hire that person in the absence of another qualified candidate. Is that correct?
That was my understanding,
I
yes.
understand. Okay.
I think you said after you have gone through all of that.
Madam Chair, would the proper thing to do be to table this? And if we table it, give, I move to table this discussion.
Do this, special table, I was
Table it with the caveat that staff bring us back another version with the concerns that we brought up.
And I second your motion.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that this issue in terms of the table. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We'll table it and bring the information back to next meeting. That will be easy. Now we're down to new business.
Madam Chair, I have to apologize. Mr. Jack Whitehead of the Rotary Club of Southwest Shreveport was supposed to be here today to present a $2,000 check to the board as part of the Rotary grant to help us purchase books to give away during our Every Child Ready to Read programs that we'll be doing this winter and into next spring. Mr. Whitehead couldn't make it, but just to let you know, we were recipient of the $2,000 grant, and we will have books to give away for our Every Child Ready to Read program, which our friend Julie Grice, our juvenile services person, will be putting in our branches at least 2 classes every weekend and or evening for foreseeable future. 2,000.
2,000.
2,000. Unless I misunderstood you, that was the amount he said.
Madam Chairman, may I ask a question? John, is that linked to the 1,000 books before kindergarten program?
Actually, it's in addition to,
Okay.
we're wanting to, the Every Child Ready to Read program from ALA is basically a class to help teach parents and caregivers the proper way to read to your children, play with your children, talk with your children, sing with your children, and write with your children. We get them ready for kindergarten. So it's a wonderful class. It's been going on, as you know, for decades, and we want to roll it out here and make it available at all of our branches. At least 2 classes a month for the foreseeable future. And any parent who comes would have at least the opportunity to pick up a couple free books to take home.
I saw where we had a little winner of the 1,000 books before kindergarten on the Facebook
We
page.
did.
I'm sure you probably saw it, but he's adorable, and I'm so glad to see that.
He was happy camping.
Any other statements? We will go to our next item, parish financial report.
Madam,
Just making sure your microphone's on.
I have to have a mic. Madam Chair and other board members, on behalf of the Kettle Parish Commissioners, as well as Parish Administrator Dr. Woodrow Wilson Jr., we'd like to thank you for this opportunity to present to you all a financial overview of the parish. This review will concentrate primarily on the revenue outlook for the parish. As you know, the parish is primarily property tax funded, as well as the library. And for 2016 was a reassessment year, and the overall reassessment came in at 4% higher. The parish adjusted some of its millage rate, some went up, some went down, but the total millage rate in total actually decreased. But there are some various increase within those millage rates. Property taxes have remained consistent. We're projecting about a 2% increase for 2017. Overall collections have been up. We've been collecting at a rate of 97, 98%, which means we're writing off less revenue, which means that a majority of property owners are paying their property taxes, which is advantageous to us. And so for our future outlook, based on the stability of the property taxes we've been so far, and the projections we've projected based on this, we foresee a stable 2017 as well as beyond. We also have seen surpluses for the last couple of years, not huge surpluses, but our revenues have matched our expenses. We'll talk a little bit about the parish's other revenue source, which is sales taxes. The sales taxes are significantly down. We've seen a 24% drop in sales taxes. Fortunately for us, the majority of our operations are not dependent on sales taxes. We depend primarily on property taxes. The sales taxes affect our road program, which is what we use to overlay the roads, and we had to reduce the number of miles we were overlaid for 2017 because of the decrease in sales tax. The sales tax is just a highly volatile revenue source. We can have years where they're significantly high and years where they're have a significant drop off. But we've managed that. We also, majority of our other revenue sources are remaining stable for 2017. If you have any questions, or would like me to cover anything else, I'd be more than willing to. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our next item. Personnel committee report, recommendation. Ms. Bass.
Yes, we voted last week, can y'all hear me? To approve across the board a raise of approximately 5% pay increase across the board for all employees. We did recommend that the library research and propose a pay increase in the future on performance, based on performance, with measurable outcomes, and then bring that back to the board. So that's the next process. Does anybody have any questions?
I saw that in the minutes, and I think that's really,
And I disagree, Madam Chair, because I feel that if the world was fair, I would say do this, but the world is not fair,
Right.
okay? And I feel that when we get to a point where we're looking at performance, getting a raise or something, you have some people that is not going to be fair. And people can work. And they may have a problem with somebody, and they want, I just cannot go with that. I'm a former teacher, when I was evaluated, and we brought that came in too. Some of on the term that I was teaching, I'm sure the Lord's remember, and you went by evaluation. And I know, not brag, I was one of the best. But then you sit there and get a supervisor or someone may come in and just may have a problem. And I'm not saying that, but if the world was fair, I'll go with it. But I just cannot go with that. And some people will work themselves up to do the right thing, follow the guidelines, and steal that next person from in us. So that's the only thing I have. That's my opinion, and that's the way I feel about it, okay? And I know you don't have to.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I was a civil service board for 32 years. And we're always evaluated, and our merit grade was based on the evaluation. There was an occasional problem, but it's the problem, it's the responsibility of the person doing the evaluations supervisor to ensure that they are fair in their evaluations. And civil service, over the years, got away from doing subjective evaluations to doing objective evaluations based on specific measures of performance. So once you get from subjective to objective evaluations, and that, if there's any bias, that pretty much goes away. Because if you're doing something that's measurable, you either do it or you don't do it. You know? And if we do go toward merit increases based on merit, then we'll have to have evaluation systems based on a measurable statistic of some sort. Like I said, civil service did it for decades, and it worked pretty good.
I would just like to comment on that. As a state employee, we had some form of evaluation that was not subjective and purely objective in measurable terms, and it eventually evolved into being not just an evaluation as such, but a matter of professional development. And to do that, we had to look at each of the job classifications and determine exactly how they should be evolving. And so if we're talking about changing a culture because of the changes in technology and that's happening in the library and other industries, that type of tier that was started with one of our former governors is worth considering, and that's why we wanted to give it to our executive director to come back in January, let us at least know what progress is made. An example would be, as the dean of a community college, if I wanted to move up to the next tier and be considered for a raise, then I had to either get an advanced degree, another degree, or attend so many industry classes or belong to so many classes. This was all written out for each job classification. Now, if you elected not to do that, then you were not eligible when the raises came through for the raise. So it was a form of merit that was based on professional development, which is totally measurable, because you either got it or you didn't do what you had to do to move to that next level based on your job description or your classification. So that's what we're looking, and I'd ask Mr. Tuggle to consider that option, and there's many other options to make it totally objective. So with that in mind, my feeling was to approve this time that type of a 5% across the board raise. And as Dottie Bell, as you said, the world's not fair. Because even a 5% across the board raise means the person that's making $100,000 a year gets a $5,000 a year raise, and the person making $30,000 a year gets a $1,500 raise, yet they're all going to pay the same amount for the additional medical care and contribution to retirement. But it's the best we can do now, because it's going to take more than 1, 2, 3, 4 months, but shouldn't take a lot more after that to get some expertise to come up with a good evaluation plan.
Madam Chair, yeah, I was just gonna say, you're right, the world is not fair, but the way I see it on the other side is take your role in the school system. When you said that you outperform, and when everybody's getting the 5% across the board, the people that are outperforming are getting paid, are getting the same increase as some people that aren't performing are not as good as you. So that's not fair either. So we're trying to move to the best system as objectively as possible.
I need to clear something up. I am not knocking the 5% raise. I'm knocking the performance
I know.
that you're going to come to make sure. I want this to
No, I know you're not.
in the minutes. I love it. And I think the greatest thing I wish we could do that to school board, they supposed to let us right now. We don't have the money. But the performance is the problem. And if you could make, once we do the, like you said, you asked Mr. Tuggle to check into that. I would like to see it. I mean, I know we can make it fair, but people are not fair. But I'm not knocking that. But I just want to make sure that person who felt that they've done all they can do, where they go next? They go another level up to complain, that's another problem. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I just want to protect that child, that person who's doing, but they feel that, oh, I've done everything this person, why did I get it? You know, where can they go from there?
Okay.
If not, they're going to retaliation. That's what I'm talking about, okay?
Let's hear Ms.
Let me
Bass.
just be clear.
Let's hear,
Madam Chair.
Just one more comment. What I'd like to see them do is to start a plan and come up with some ideas or a proposal or something. But whatever they come up with, the board is going to vote on it. It will be up to us whether or not they implement it.
we're not voting on it today.
So just let them do their work, they'll come up with something, then we can see
Well,
what
I
we
don't
want.
want that.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, we were just asking them to research it and then bring us back something as objective as possible. We realize it's, when humans are in it, just like you're saying, there's gonna be human error.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. But we're asking them to just bring us something so we can look at it. Just start the research on it. So, and, you know, you have all these individual roles, the evaluations per role, how they're measured, so each employee knows their role. So, objectively, as possible.
I'm on the personnel committee, and I was in the meeting, and that was my concern, the subjectivity that often goes into this kind of reward system. So I guess I'm all for the staff looking into, the director looking into this. But if I see subjectivity in it, I am not going to be for it because, you know, as Dottie said, in the school system, we've seen too much disparity in this kind of thing. And eventually we had to just let it go because it just wasn't working, because people were not being fair and the system was too subjective.
Okay.
I just want to say two things so that, I guess, not get on the record because it's not a motion, but A, I'm sure that there's got to be library systems that are doing this and doing it well, so I'm sure Mr. Tuggle will find the best piece for us that is data-driven and based on an objective set of standards. And, you know, Mr. Johnson's right, we will have to eventually vote on this, so it's just not gonna just happen. The second thing I'd like to say is I agree with what Ms. Batts and the committee came up with in terms of researching a merit-based system is twofold. I'm in the school system. We have student learning targets that we're judged on. Do I like them? No, because nobody likes to be evaluated. Let's just be real. But they're based on data. So I know exactly what I have to do. And if I don't do it, well, I mean, I don't get my little bonus, you know, and there's other consequences. But if I do it, you know, I can keep moving up. I've long thought that the library, particularly Street Memorial Library, we have to let our constituents know that this is a professional environment. You don't just come and work at the library and just, once you get a job, stay there forever and ever. You have certain standards that you have to meet. Most of our librarians are degreed librarians. We went to school and got a master's degree for this. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, if you're at that level of professionalism, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a system that judges that. And if you're not at that level but want to be, you know, as Mr. Tebby said, it's a way to, you know, develop you professionally. What I don't want to see is the library become a dumping ground. If somebody needs to be hired by somebody, let's send them to the library. If we have a real system in place that evaluates people and gives them, you know, compensation based on their merit, that helps to professionalize what we do. And I'm all for professionalizing librarianship at all levels. Anybody that steps into doing work at the library. So that's just my comment.
That's good. Anything else? Now, we're not voting on the performance part. That was a recommendation made coming from the committee. But we do need to vote on the other part, the budget part of that.
Okay.
So if you want to make a motion.
Okay. Does I make a motion, we have to make a motion again?
Just a motion to accept the personnel
Okay.
recommendations.
And it doesn't have to be seconded. We
No,
know.
Okay.
second.
I make a motion,
Actually, don't need a motion. The committee report is what it is.
okay.
So if there, any action needs to be,
Yeah,
the
that
board
was-
has to take following that, then we can vote on that.
So I already made the report.
Okay, so you got it.
You already did that?
Yeah.
We need to vote.
No, you said-
Or the
board
needs to-
The board needs to go out on that meeting.
No. You vote on whether or not to accept the budget. You don't vote on whether or not to accept the report.
Okay.
Okay.
The report is what it is.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to accept the budget of 5% pay increase?
Well, that's fine, isn't it?
Well, we need to
Well,
get
that's the
that.
personnel.
Well, let's have the finance report, then we'll vote on the budget.
Vote on the whole thing. Finance report is next. Finance report.
Right.
All ready? Okay. Finance report, the finance committee met on September 21st. All of our committee members were there. And I don't know how much detail y'all go into in this report. If you have your budget package, if you turn to page 1, we'll start right there. John Tuggle presented an overview of the 2017 proposed budget, explaining the reasons for various increases in revenues and expenditures. Jim Felton explained the revenue projects, projections and expenditures are based there conservatively, et cetera, et cetera. I'm gonna go over a few things in the budget, specific things, so that y'all will see what we did and why we did it. On page 1, the budget overview, if you look at sentence, it says the 2017 budget is balanced in that revenues and fund balance reserves meet total 2017 expenditures. Pardon? Okay. That sentence is kind of unusual, struck me as being unusual already. And the reason for that, I'll go into in just a second. If you look at page 2, talks about the fund balance reserve, or the operating reserve, I guess, or savings account, however you want to phrase it. The beginning fund balance for 2017 is projected to be $21 million and some change. So our operating budget is, what's the exact figure? I can't remember.
Page 11.
Page 11. Our expenditures, we're looking at 17 million, so our fund balance is $4 million more than our annual budget. Parish likes for our fund balance to be equal to or exceeding the annual budget. That helps keep the credit rating up, which means they can borrow money at a lower rate. Talk about the 5% across the board. Also talk about the employee contributions to retirement will increase to 12%. The library's contribution will increase to 25%. Talk about an increase in the materials budget. Talk about buying 2 new vehicles. And the overall budget for capital equipment and vehicles is $455,000. In maintenance and repair services, the downtown bridge, former main bridge, is in need of repairs. The first major repair is going to be a new boiler. It's going to cost around $300,000 for just the boiler. And roof repairs, window repairs, not sure what else is going to be involved. It's going to be a lot of money, several million dollars probably to rehabilitate that building to where it needs to be. But this year, $300,000. And on page 3, he completes the conclusion is that the Street Memorial Library is financially healthy and continues to practice wise financial management. And if you'll go to page 11, I'm sorry, page 10. Okay, page 10 outlines the revenues and then the expenditures. All the sources of revenue are the same as they are every year. The dollar amounts go up and down. But we're looking at $16,428,110 estimated total revenues for 2017. Then below that are the expenditures, and some of them are higher. But the bottom line is that to get the additional materials that we want to get, additional supplies, books, etc., and to do the repairs on the downtown building, more, we need to spend more money than we have in revenues this year. So we're going to be spending about $700,000 more than we have in revenues. But we have $21 million in fund balance, so it's not a problem. We'll take $700,000 or so from the fund balance, added to our revenues to spend it. And that's why it's a little bit out of balance. John, Jim, you want to jump in there and say anything else about that?
I just wanted to let you know that I actually went and looked up the Louisiana Local Government Budget Act, and it specifically states that the total of proposed expenditures shall not exceed the total of estimated funds available for the ensuing year. And the total estimated funds available is the sum of the estimated fund balance at the beginning of the year and the anticipated revenues for the current year. And as you can see, our budget does not exceed $21 million, plus the additional $16 million that will come in. So we are in good shape. There is one problem. Our friend Kathy has been digging here in Robert's Rules of Orders. And we really do need to have a motion to accept the reports. So we might want to back up just a minute and have Hope make a motion to accept her report, then a report on that, and then turn around and have Neil make a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion for the board to accept the personnel committee report. All in favor? Second.
I don't think you need a second to be on it. Just said you just want to ask.
Make a report again. Okay.
It's never pretty, but it's successful. We managed to get through it.
Madam Chair, I recommend that the library board move to accept the personnel committee's report for a 5% pay increase across the board.
Thank you. With that, that as recommended to the board, acceptance of the items and we included the 5% pay raise in the third item that Bill just said. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Recommendation accepted.
Now it's Neil's turn.
Okay, now, through that.
All right.
The second part of the Finance Committee's
Oh, that's right.
recommendations involve the budget adjustments.
Justice.
So you look at page 22 in your packet, the budget adjustments and voted on are listed there. Biggest was, this is an increase to the fund portion, John, $195,000.
Correct. Basically, we're taking care of the funds for this building. We're adding some more money into our operating reserves. As you can see, the three major things are I should say two really, are adjustments to our materials budget. It's unfortunate, but we had a leaky pipe that destroyed some very expensive legal books, which require us to replace them. It's going to be about $37,000. And then the state library sent us a bill in the middle of the year to have us actually pay for a portion of the databases that we had been warned might happen, but weren't told exactly when it would happen. So that accounts for $20,000 of that $28,000 you see for the online information improvements and equipment. And the other $8,000 is just, we had some toys we wanted to buy that we didn't have the money in the budget. It seems that our online computer savvy, tech savvy customers really like these new toys, so we went ahead and purchased them. And we had the money at this point, so it's just that. Then again, like I said, the additional money for the operating reserves. So pretty straightforward explanation there on the first and second page.
All right, so after listening to all the information, the committee voted unanimously to approve the budget as presented. And ends the report. So I'll make a motion that the board accept the report as presented. All in favor? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to ask a question, Neil, of you or to Jim. Going back to page 1, Jim, first, thank you very much for preparing a budget review that I could understand. It was very, very clear, and I do appreciate that. On page 1, under budget overview, that's the first thing that caught my eye. I don't know if this is on. Is this on? Now it's on. Not on?
No.
Now it's on. Okay, where you said the 2017 budget is balanced in that. I'm married to an accountant, so that meant it wasn't balanced from what we got, it was balanced from something else. And then on page 11, we're balancing the budget with the, if I'm not mistaken, with the fund balance, and that includes the raises and so forth. My question is a very simple one. I know we have the $300,000 you put in here for the boiler repair. That's likely to happen, not necessarily going to happen. Is there any danger, and you're good at forecasting, of any major acquisitions that we would have or expenditures that could cause us any type of a problem that you possibly foresee? Is anything we're looking to purchase, renovate, expand upon, that you know of?
No,
No. Okay.
not as such. You know, one of the things is our, and I don't like the words fund balance. I like operating reserve.
Operating
That's what
reserve,
it's referred
okay.
to. But at the end of the year is what we expected to have, and it's very healthy. You know, we didn't finance the building with that certificate of indebtedness because we didn't have the money for it. we had a cash flow problem of being able to stay out of interim financing, and build the building at the same time, and that. But, like I say, the fund balance with the operating reserve is now adequate to handle a full 100% of the expenditures for the year, and that. And to pay off the debt service, which is approximately $4 million left on it of the $6 million.
And an adequate reserve that could possibly handle any unexpected expenditure for at least 2017.
We have a full year's operating budget and enough to pay off our debt service at this time. So we could fully pay off the debt service and still operate for a year.
That answers my question.
Thank you.
I have a question, and it's related, maybe somewhat indirectly, but in terms of all of our branches and the upkeep, are you aware of what all has any kind of assessment been done to see what is needed, what is broken, what in the bathrooms is torn off, or whatever, those things that need to be done, so we can keep them looking really good at all times?
Well, I can let Susan talk a little bit more about it if you need more details, but we do have a maintenance calendar, more or less, where we go along and look at each building, and we are fully aware of everything that's, we've got some problems. Again, the biggest headache we have in our future is the downtown library, and we will eventually end up with an architect and or consultant having to look at that and see just how much we need to do with that. I'm hoping it won't be as much. We have a couple of branches we've been working to beautify and rectify some cosmetic problems such as Wallette and Cedar Grove. And Broadmoor also has, again, most of it's cosmetic. We're looking at furniture and carpet. The biggest headache, again, is the downtown branch, and it's going to require all new flooring eventually, new paint, probably all new furniture. So, but we'll have to just see how much that's going to cost us. But in the near future, we want to make that part of our strategic master plan, exactly what we want to do with that downtown branch. And then that will sit here and drive exactly how much we spend and what kind of repairs and what we do with it. So there's still discussion of maker space on that fourth floor. Possibility of expanding our role with BIPSI for more high-set classes and actually giving them some more space there. There's lots of possibilities. The commons area that the commissioners have added $1 million to, that seems to be moving forward, that whole arts commons area, and that would fit in well with part of our mission. So depending on how we define our mission in this upcoming plan, we could change some of that building space around and do some different things with it. So it's a possibility. And I know we've got one of the Rotary clubs there is very interested in helping us take that plaza area, beautify it, make it more of a commons, in that it's for, you could have speaking engagements there, show art there, do things of that nature right there in that front plaza. So there's potential, lots of possibilities. That, yes, as far as just the overall maintenance, Susan does have a calendar of that, and Wayne is very good about keeping up with it. And trust me, I walk behind them all the time, pointing out mold and mildew and paint. They get very upset with me sometimes.
And I ask that question because I'm in and out of some of the branches, and sometimes I will notice that maybe a toilet paper holder or something is loose or something is broken, and I'll bring it to the attention of the manager and ask her, if she's aware of it, have you reported it? And make sure that this is reported along with anything else that needs to be fixed around here.
Well, feel free to share that also with me. And Susan.
I just wanted to add that the managers in all of the branches are expected to do walk-arounds in their facilities and make note of any, anything that are not in proper working condition or broken or whatever, so they are working with that too.
Thank you.
Okay, we're tearing off the subject now. There's a motion to the full board to accept the financial report. Sir?
Second.
I just wanted to mention something. I need a separate motion on the budget adjustments as opposed to the budget as a whole. Budget adjustments will be sent over to the city to make those adjustments immediately, whereas the budget for next year has to go through a whole nother process through the parish and stuff like that. So I just didn't want to let that be forgotten in that
You need both.
I need separate motion on those things.
Okay, well, I'll withdraw my first motion and move that we have two motions. First, the board to approve the proposed 2017 library budget. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
What's the adjustments?
Well, he's making second. The next is the proposed budget adjustments.
You give the report out, Carrie.
Yes, your role is to just ask for the report to be approved.
I think we need to revise, look at those rules again, because that's not right. But whatever y'all want to do, I'll give you a report for next meeting. So what do you want me to do?
Motion to implement recommendations. When a report contains recommendations, specifications for the recommendations, when the reporting board committee member usually makes the necessary motion to implement the recommendations at the conclusion of this presentation. No second is required in these cases since the motion is made on behalf of the board or the committee. Motion to adopt an entire report. In rare instances after assembly has received a report, motion can be made to adopt the entire report. Affirmative vote on such a motion has the effect of the assembly's endorsing every word of the report, including the indicated facts and the reasoning as its own statement. Unlike motions to take the action recommended in a report as described above, a motion to adopt the report should be made by someone other than the reporting member. It requires a second. Adoption of the entire report is seldom wise except when it is to be issued or published in the name of the whole organization. There you go. Now I'm even more confused.
Ours is not in the second paragraph, but it's set.
All right.
We need no second.
Okay.
We need it broken down.
We just voted on part one.
Okay.
We voted on part two.
We need to vote on part one. Okay.
So, motion to vote, I was just making the report, the motion to propose the budget adjustments. So, okay.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay,
So we're done.
we're done now.
Thank you.
I said it, didn't you? Because I was wondering, we saw. I think you're gonna find that, the statement in reference to giving a second is said that a second is not necessarily needed, but it's not out of order. That's what you're gonna find. For the reports.
And then do we vote on it? Right? Do we vote on the report?
Okay.
Well, in anticipation of vigorous debate, I decided to offer a policy proposal and let you guys take it home, read over it, study it, and bring it back to the next meeting, and then we can have a discussion. The virtual student library card is a movement that's been going on for several decades. It started with the Connect Ed initiative out of the White House several years ago, and the intent of the initiative is to make sure every child has access to the digital world. I had the opportunity to sit with the Urban Library Council managers back in Orlando at the ALA meeting, and one of the things we discussed was some of the pitfalls and headaches that come with trying to give every student a library card, a virtual library card. I have personal experience trying to do this in Savannah, and one of the things we ran into there is that many children already had a card and they were blocked because of fines or thieves. And it's unfortunate. So I didn't think when I sat down this summer to talk with Kathy Smith, who's the curriculum specialist librarian, that the school would be so receptive to this idea. So now here we are finding ourselves already behind because they want to implement it now. Unfortunately, we can't do that. But I've got a policy proposal for you. What you'll see in it is an executive summary that discusses what we're wanting to do, some possible questions to ponder, because there are implications that you want to be aware of, an actual policy draft, a copy of the memorandum of understanding that would have to be signed by the parish school board, along with the library, and the vendor agreements that the school requires to release certain student information. Now, what is a virtual student library card? What we're trying to do is save a little money and use the student identification number as a virtual library card. And that way we would just import child's name, student ID, grade, and the school into our database. And that way they can use their ID to use our computers, check out any e-materials that they would want, use our online tutors. And more importantly, we discovered that sometimes books are just as good as online sources. So we want to let them check out 3 physical items at any given time that are age appropriate. How this differs from a regular library card is it required no parent or guardian signature. We would have the library actually take on the physical responsibility there. What I'm trying to do at this point is find some sponsors that might help us with lost items. At this time, the Downtown Rotary Club has decided not to play with us, but that's okay. I used that opportunity more or less to get into Mr. Keith Burton and Dr. Corey's ear, and they seem to be very, very excited about it. So I offer this proposal to you. I've tried to outline as many pitfalls, possibilities, problems that there could be. I also think that if we really are to support education for school-age children in the parish, this is one way we could do it. And the question becomes, do we trust 41,000 school children? We've got plenty of teachers and school librarians on this board. You can tell me about that.
Well, I think, first of all, let me tell you, I'm loving the library educator card. I would love to take advantage of that.
Oh, you saw that too,
I
didn't
did
you?
see that.
Yeah.
I think what you do when you do this is you tie this into education, so kids see that, you know, there's a library, especially where I am, because the library is right across the street. So we work together a lot, and so I think this would encourage schools to work with their closest branch library a whole lot, because it is, a lot of our kids can't even get a library card because their parents, they're working, or they can't go in and, you know, for other reasons, go in and show the necessary documents to get them a library card. I just think this opens up access, and I'm all about kids particularly having access to the library.
Again, there are that fiscal responsibility. Mr. Tibbet and I had a long discussion about how we might offset some of that, sponsors are one way to do that. Providing incentives for children who actually turn in all their materials is one thing. And there is a tiered, if you'll read in the actual policy, where it's tiered, where if they don't turn in their books for the next year, they don't get as many books that they can check out. But for the most part, I see a lot of this usage being for our e-branch and our online tutors, and that's what I really want to push. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I got a question. You mentioned right off the bat there'd be a cost savings. You mentioned right off the bat there'd be a cost savings, so I'm assuming that would be not producing paper ID cards.
They would use their student ID card.
Okay. So why wouldn't we do this with adults? Virtual library cards for everybody. Did you use your driver's license number?
Well, now, they have done that in other places, but with driver's license, I don't know how the state of Louisiana works with that. I know in the state of Texas, when you're issued a driver's license, it's yours just like your social security card forever. I don't think it's that way in the state of Louisiana, is it? We have to research that. But
Well, I've had the same driver's license number since 1962.
that, again, being new to Louisiana, I don't know that it works that way. I know in Georgia, every time you update your driver's license or move, you get a new number.
Not here.
Not here? They would be much like Texas.
Or a state issued ID card.
Okay.
Use those virtual ID.
We can definitely consider that also.
I think you're worried about the loss of material, but with the ebooks, you can't lose an ebook. That's not a concern. And I think that's where you're gonna see the majority of the usage, which I think is awesome.
We can hope.
And then the majority of the kids are gonna have to have an adult drive them to the library to check out their 3 books. And at that point, you can have the parent that's there take the responsibility of returning the book, and so therefore the fine falls back to the adult. That's an easy problem to, no?
No.
That won't happen?
Most of my kids are walkers. They walk
Right,
to the
they
library,
walk.
and they'll, like during the summertime, like after school, they'll be there till the library closes. And
Okay.
sometimes they're there all day long. I would love to see them be able to check out, they love graphic novels, be able to check that stuff out. And we're moving more towards ebooks in the school library too, so you're right, but I just
I didn't
think,
think about that.
yeah, I trust kids more than I trust adults, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
So, I think like I said, I think this is an excellent opportunity for the schools and the library system to work together. And I think if that happens, then the loss of materials will be maybe negligible, but what you get from the partnership and the collaboration will be unbelievable.
I was gonna say the same thing, my husband did, we asked for $15,000, you five some responsible, and that will take care. Adults need to pay their own fine.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
We taking care of the baby's here.
Yes, this is,
Okay. I'm saying,
This
what you
is-
talking about? But they
Yeah.
need to take care of their own fine.
Yes, we're talking about
They
the
won't.
adult.
this is strictly for school-age children.
Let them pick it up.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
If they lose a book now, they don't wanna pay that.
Oh, no, we don't want to lose that revenue stream. We want our adults still paying their fees and fines.
But I see what Neil is saying in, having some kind of ID system to only be able to use the virtual library and not check out the hard materials.
Let me check into that one for you. It's a possibility. Of course, I do kind of like the idea of having my little library card right here with me at all times. So, I don't know, something to think about. But again, anticipating vigorous debate, I leave this with you for the time being to mull over, read over, bring questions to the next meeting, and then we can discuss how we want to follow through.
All right, sir. You have a leave policy?
Now, that one, we did make a minor little change that we want to make you aware of and have you adopt. If we get to it here. Oh, Kathy. Yes. I've lost it. What see, the letters in red are what we wanted to change, and we had a circumstance come up not too long ago where we had a night and weekend employee that needed a little bit more time off, and the way the policy read, it was 3 days. So we wanted to change that to say up to 24 hours, not to exceed 4 work days maximum. That way, it's a little bit more fair to those people who work the night and weekend shifts. Whereas a full-time person would get their 3/8 in a row. That it's somebody who's working possibly 2 jobs or dealing with a family and working an evening and night shift. It doesn't really change our financial liability. It's still 24 hours. What we're doing is just letting that 24 hours be taken over a 4-day period instead of a 3-day period. And we did decide to add grandchildren with more and more non-traditional families becoming the standard. It's probably best, just like we were talking about before today's meeting started, the woman who had 23 children, 8 stepchildren. You can just imagine that we're wanting to be a little bit more generous in adding grandchildren to that. So that is our proposed change to the funeral rate. Really just to take the 24 hours instead of 3 days, expand that over 4 days, and add grandchildren.
Okay, we do need to vote on that.
We need a vote on that.
I move that we approve the funeral leave policy as amended.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the policy as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Thank you. Next one's on you, Madam Chair.
Next, coming up is the appointment of the nominating committee. Our nominating committee this year will be Ms. Dolores Lynch, Mr. Tom Tiddy, and Ms. Julia Higgins will serve.
Just a question, when do we, will we have to make our nomination for the president, vice president at the November meeting?
Who will be chair? Judge? No, that's wrong. Who's chair? That's executive. Ms. Lynch is chair. Ms. Lynch? Mm-hmm. In the November meeting. Okay, then we go to reports. If no other questions?
Come on up. Madam Chair, I'd like to introduce again Mr. James Gavin, Director of the Friends of the Library, as suggested a meeting or two ago that he come and give an update on the Friends. And did you have to bring some library card applications?
I certainly do.
Yeah, not library cards. You be friends of the library applications. And if none of you are friends, he can get you signed up.
Very good. Good evening, Mr. Gannon. You're welcome.
Madam Chair, Board, Mr. Director, thank you very much for having me. I'm president of the Friends of the Library, and whether you know it or not, the Friends of the Library, we exist solely to support the library. How do we do that? Money. We have 2 book sales a year, one in the spring, one in the fall, and then we have a little one around Christmas. I happen to bring some information. We have our fall sale coming up at the end of October, and if you will pass out or encourage your friends to attend, spend some money, all that money goes to the library. We support Staff Development Day. We just give money to branches to do with as they please. We support the bookmobile, we support Green Gold. Now, our revenue, our book sales take in maybe about $7,000 a year, all three book sales. Right now, we've got $11,700 in the bank, okay? 3,000 of that is going to Staff Development Day, and the rest, like I say, is for your use. If the branches need something, they can come to us, and if we can possibly help, we will. We've been showing the flag, so to speak, at the Randall T. Moore Senior Citizen Center. Mr. Tuttle and I attended a lecture there last month, and I volunteered to give a talk this month. So Mr. Kirkley was going with me, but I don't know about it if his health will let him. If he can't, then Mr. Tuttle will be drafted. The library has a table. We're going to be there. We're going to give away books. We gave away books at the at the farmer's market, and at the food truck throwdown. I think that's what they call it. And that went over great, especially children's books. And especially a free book. Who can reject a free book? Although people do. It's unbelievable. Also, during the KDAQ radio spring and fall fund drives, we volunteer to man the phones for a morning, and in return, they give us a day of advertising for the book fair, book sales. In the future, we're looking at things like having lecturers, maybe have a luncheon and a lecturer for a small fee. We kicked around the idea of opening a store, and that's not dead yet, but it's kind of dead in the water. We just got to work through the logistics and a lot. So, now, how can you help us? By joining the Friends of the Library. For the princely sum of $5 a year, you get to come into the book sale first on Saturday mornings. Now, and the thing is, you don't have to do anything. But we encourage you on the second Saturday of every month in the basement of the library to sort through all the books that have been donated. We categorize them, we put them on the shelves, and we get ready for the book sales. And also, if you're really extravagant, for $50, you can have a lifetime membership. But $5 a year, that's not asking a lot. Right now, we've got about 250 members on the books. And as you know, with any organization, we get about a third of those active participants. So if you want to come down on Saturday, help us out, feel free. Got some ideas that we can implement to help out the library? We're always ready to listen. Okay? That is about, that's all I've got to say. If you've got any questions or suggestions, give me a call. Give us a call. We're here to help you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, what?
Excuse me?
Are your books coming, do these books come from donations
They
and, discards?
And discards.
Donations and discards.
Exactly.
So I can donate some books to you?
Yes, please. And, you know, we might even be able to pick them up. Just give us a shout.
Okay.
You know, I can't promise, but we like to offer that. But yes, by all means, we'll take any donations.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Gavin, you said y'all
Jim.
work on Saturdays?
Second Saturday of every month.
Second Saturday?
From 9 to noon. We sort books. If all the board members are there, we have a board meeting. We've got cold drinks, snacks. They need some good people.
Okay. Another question, how is it possible to check your membership? I think I'm a lifetime member, but I didn't talk to you about that.
Excuse me?
I think I may be a lifetime member. How do you check your,
Give me your name. I'll call Michael Watt, who is our membership. I'm sorry, Jackie Morales is our membership chairman. Y'all know Jackie. Okay. Anyway, you can call me or Jackie, and we can certainly verify that.
And Jackie is the reference librarian at the downtown branch.
Okay, I have a question. Are there lifetime membership cards?
Actually, no, we don't even have yearly membership cards. We trust you. You say here you order for $5, if you need to sneak in the door for $5, please.
No, I just asked them, like, because I'm gonna pay I'm paying my lifetime membership.
Thank you very much.
And I didn't know if there was a lifetime membership card, because I would be happy to carry it in my wallet.
Well, we don't, that's an excellent idea, and I will bring it up to the board, to our board. Yes, sir.
So a good example.
Yeah, does the Friends have any type of a website or social presence, anything?
We've got a little blurb on the library's web page. We don't have our own. But we do have a,
Facebook page.
yes. That's another, we do have a Facebook page. I don't use it myself, but we're there. Anybody else? No difficult questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You gonna come back here for anything?
Sure, I'll get on the board.
Okay, come on, come.
And thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. You ready for it?
All right, it's time, my report. I think Ms. Hicks, the last meeting or so, asked about update on the last strategic master plan. Turns out there was a preliminary status report that was done. And instead of having to reconstruct it, I thought I would share the preliminary status report from the last strategic master plan. I will tell you, for the most part, most of the measurements, outcomes, outputs, and surveys were not done. Therefore, you're going to see a lot of paper in here that says incomplete. But that's okay. What we can take away from this report is that there were lots of great recommendations done by the staff. And the most helpful part of this report is that it shows which of those recommendations, objectives, and programs were actually instituted, and which ones are in process, are continuing to pursue, and which ones that need to be reevaluated. I think that we will want to keep all of this in mind and come back and take a look at it when we do our next strategic master plan. But as you can see, if you read through, objective, you just start with page 5. See objective 1.1, status has not been met. 1.2, objective has not been met. Some of these were bare misses, which is a shame. I think perhaps the goal was a little high. Some of these, if we decide to adopt them again, will have to be rethought, especially when you start taking a look at like computer sessions. That's radically changed in the last 5 years. If you just look at our computer sessions, our average computer sessions are going down, but if you add our Wi-Fi sessions to our computer sessions, you actually see we're getting more usage. So we're going to have to redefine some of these goals and look at some other things. Some of this, you can see, was actually met. I think the most difficult part of this is at the time we're not collecting statistics like we are now. We do a quarterly report that will help us and break these things down. That's just the estimate. So, again, I could spend a lot of time trying to generate some of this information and to see, but I'm almost willing to wager that we didn't meet most of those goals. And it would take a lot of staff time to go back and recreate those statistics since we didn't actually collect them. What we did do is we did make our annual report to the state that, as you can see, does not break out stuff specifically as it was dictated in this report. But again, take it home, study it at your leisure. If you would like more information or there are specific goals you'd like us to dig into, I'd be more than happy to accommodate you. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any, I guess, further progress on,
The RFP is out, and the city actually has it in, how many more days are we looking at?
I think it's another week and a half or 2 weeks.
So we should be moving forward. Now, I took your advice to heart.
We didn't hear the state.
No, she said,
I was asking about the progress of the RFP for hiring a consultant.
Oh.
and the RFP is actually out now, and it's still good, it's still out there for another week or two, what Susan said. So we will, at that point, take a look at who's actually wants to play with us, and we'll see at that point. But again, as I was saying, I took Shannon's advice to heart and expanded our role, and okay, we may not get it all done this year. It may take a good part of next year also, but we hope not. Would really like to get that finished up by next summer. One of the things that came about for several different reasons, in this strategic plan, it talks about surveys. There was a city internal audit about 5 years ago that gave us a little finding for not doing customer satisfaction surveys. So our friend Caleb, who is our e-branch manager, and his boss Lynn got together with me, and guess what we did? We did our first, it's just being difficult for you, I don't know why. We did our first customer satisfaction survey, and we kept it simple. As you can see, we only asked 3 questions. The survey was actually hosted on our website. We reached out to customers through social media. We sent email blasts, and we actually had staff stand in the lobbies at branches with iPad minis. And since it was hosted on our website, all you had to do is go through and click the answers, and you can see the most important question I wanted answered. One of the ones I said I would start asking immediately, first chance I got around here, was how likely are you to recommend Street Memorial Library to a friend, neighbor, or family member based on your most recent visit? As you can see, 80% of those surveyed were extremely likely to recommend us to a friend, neighbor, or family member. 17.6% were likely, less than 1% didn't know, less than 1% were not likely, and a smidgen were extremely not likely. So, as you can see, what is your home library? That breaks out almost remarkably the same way our door count usage breaks out. It's very, very interesting. And then, how often do you visit the library? I was surprised to find that over 51% of our customers visit on a weekly basis. I would have thought it would have been more like monthly. But there you go. We've got 51.7% visit weekly, 21.6% daily, 18% monthly, and less than 10% not that often, or just a couple times a year. So I think this says a lot for our staff and our services, and you also, the board, for supporting us. And we've got some very happy customers out there, and if you're going to recommend us, can't do any better than that. Again, as we were mentioning, the RFP Strategic Master Plan is out for bid. We completed our first independent library audit. We will have the auditor and a copy of the audit available for you at the next meeting. They just did get it to us today. This morning we got an electronic copy. We will get paper copies to you, and we will have the auditor come and visit with us in November and make a report. We are set to advertise 2 new positions, one marketing development manager and a new programming librarian. Beyonce is so happy. Can you see the smile on her face when I say that? Anyway, as far as outreach and community contacts, I talked to the North Street Lions Club, just went out to the Chimp Haven facility on behalf of the Friends of the Library to arrange for a gift acknowledgement sign. Believe it or not, those chimps like to read our discarded magazines. So, we donated to them, and we'll get some signage and some acknowledgement that we're helping out there. I became a Step Forward literacy volunteer. I now read every Thursday morning to third graders at the Summer Grove Elementary School. I attended the Rotary Club of Southwest Shreveport meeting to accept their grant, as I told you. For those of you who were at the Chamber of Commerce What Happening breakfast the other day, it was very interesting to hear the forecast from Mayor Tyler. Commissioner Wilson, or I should say County Manager, or Parish Manager, let's remember where we are. Parish Manager, Mr. Wilson, or Dr. Wilson, and Dr. Gorey from the schools. So it was very interesting talk. And if you did not have a chance to attend the Step Forward Thrive for 25 film debut, it will warm your heart. Go to the website, take a look at it. Other things, as far as marketing goes, our genealogy department was recipient of a donation of a map by Jack Sibley, which received pretty good coverage. Our food collection drive for flood victims also received some decent coverage. Our assistants with voter registration got some coverage also. I want to thank all of you board members who have been attending our programs. It's very nice. The staff is very appreciative of you supporting our efforts to help out. And just to give you, I know it's a lot, but a quick overview of, I know we've been talking about the budget for 2017, but we're still here in 2016, so a quick update. We're through technically. You should have received a copy of this. If you didn't, we will get one to you, but at 58% of the year, we've got 58% of our revenues, and we've only spent 56% of our expenditures, so we're doing okay. And with that, I will answer any questions.
Yeah, I had a call from one of my constituents, and I'm thinking somebody may have gotten a call too about concern about the library closing at 6 in some areas, especially West Shreveport area, what you call it. Then some libraries not open on Sunday. Let me ask you something, since we're doing a budget anyway, and I may call, and this is something y'all can think about. Have you thought about, I know, and she compared Broadmoor being open all the time, and you know like that. So I just want to ask, is it any way possible that we can look at the schedule of the library and that the ones that's not open on Sunday, maybe we can let them be open once a month or every 2 months, but like this, West Shreveport can be open in that one Sunday out of a month, maybe February. Atkins Library may be open. Well, I'm just looking. And they were talking about closing at 6 o'clock. I couldn't really defend or say anything. I need to look at it like this. I really need to see the schedule of all libraries, when they open, what time they close. And maybe we can, I know during the time of science projects, the ACT and all of that, they really need to cram. And someone want their library open on Sundays, okay, in some areas. I'm just saying, when you look and see if it's possible, even at that time, that we know that the major tests are being, and they usually be in March and April, maybe we could have one library in each area open on like a Sunday, like from 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. Just look at it, because she was concerned about that, and she started comparing other libraries, how they open, even in the little country of Greenwood. I don't know, I'm talking about the rest of them in the country too. Yeah, those kids take tests too. And I'm just saying, I'm not asking too much, but I'm not asking too much. Look and see about Sunday, because a lot of them need research, that. I'm sure you was a librarian, and I'm sure you did, Lord, when you cramming for that last month of research papers and all of that. We just need to accommodate that.
When our strategic master plan comes up, that's one of the things we want to look at is just overall take a look at hours. I've done a little look at how they're set up and some things we might do. The only problem with Sundays at this point is it's time and a half. So a 4-hour day on Sunday costs us 6 hours of employee
Why not
pay.
use your part-time? Use your part-time.
There are ways to work around that, yes, ma'am.
Well said.
More hours,
Absolutely.
if that's what we need, we can always do that, yes, ma'am.
Ms. Shelley, I thought all the regional branches were open on Sunday for.
Out of the resource centers.
Resource centers.
Oh, so West Shreveport's not a resource
Not
center?
No, ma'am.
No, actually, no.
I thought it was West Shreveport.
It's downtown, it's Broadmoor, and it's Hamilton.
That's it.
That's it.
Well, I'm, maybe not have every single branch open on Sunday, but I definitely, if you look at those bigger ones, like the West Shreveport, the North Shreveport, Broadmoor, Hamilton, so you have one,
I'm not saying every Sunday, be one month, one Sunday, I won't.
nobody's gonna remember that.
Yeah,
It's
they won't know
Sundays
Sunday.
or-
They won't know how. You go back to school.
It's either all or none, I think, to be honest with you. But it's, let me do some
Okay.
costs, and let's see what we could look at, and we can come back and give you an idea of how much that might cost.
It's very busy.
Oh, trust me, as far as statistics go, the more hours we're open, the more usage we get, so I'm not, as far as that goes, I'm not opposed, but we will have to
Yes, sir.
make sure that we're not going to break our budget. Yes, ma'am.
And even, for example, when I lived in Baton Rouge, the main branch is open, they don't open till 2 on Sunday, but they stay open till 10. So even looking at some different
Wow.
kinds of hours.
That's
Yeah.
impressive. Okay, and unless you have any other questions, that's all for me.
Sutton?
For the services
Did anybody have a question?
Okay, speaking of programming, I just wanted to let you all know that fall programming in the branches is now underway. Branch showcases are coming to an end. All of the full-time and part-time branches did do a branch showcase to show off our services to patrons. The 3 resource centers, West Shreve and City Grove branches, are hosting TED Talks, and they all have great topics. The first one was held at Broadmoor, and they had 16 patrons to attend. The next one is set for tomorrow at the main library, and it starts at 6:30. Several of our part-time branches are again hosting lectures focusing on the history of North Louisiana, and they are presented by Dr. Cheryl White. The last of the series will take place at the Blanchard Town Hall on October 4th at 6 o'clock. There's one tonight at the Belcher branch. Youth Services employees are busy preparing our props and games for the Red River Rebel, which will take place October 1st through 8th. And during the month of October, we will be reading The Pecan Man by Cassie Dandridge Selleck for our One Book, One Parish campaign. And the author will be visiting us at the Broadmoor branch on October 15th. All branches will participate, and they will create displays centered on the title. The book clubs are being encouraged to read the book, and we will host book discussions in the branches. And that's it for public services. Yes.
That is the Louisiana book.
Yes.
Who was the nice young lady who recommended that book?
Tammy Bradley.
Oh, yeah, Tammy.
Tammy Bradley selected the book. She was the Times Book Lover of the Year for 2015. And she's the one who selected our title.
What's the name of the author?
Cassie Dandridge Selleck.
Kenny will be joining me on Praise 90 point something on September the 28th. And also, we have a television interview set up with KTVS this coming Thursday to talk about One Book, One Parish.
Yes, I have a question, sort of related, but kind of unrelated. Do y'all have like a list or database of the book clubs that meet in the library branches? Because I know of a couple that do meet, and if they ever get any kind of recognition.
we don't have a list of compilation of all the book clubs, but each branch, you know, will know which.
That'd be nice to know and kind of recognize them.
We can make a list.
Okay.
Who's next? Support services.
Okay. For support services, for our e-branch, our e-branch manager Caleb took a video of John ziplining over the Gators at Gators and Friends, which is the award for our summer reading program, and it was our second most popular post on Facebook in August.
You are a brave man.
I recommend, if you've never tried the zip lining over the Gators, it's really not that bad. I've tried to talk a few others into it, they're not having anything to do with it. It was fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Our large sorter broke down for a few days in August, and our interlibrary loan staff, including the area manager of Access Services, all pulled together, and there was not a single delay in delivery of materials. They were able to sort the materials just as quickly as the sorters had. In our training and development area, in August and September, we've completed 395 hours of training through orientation, supervisory training, individual training, and ethics training. As of today, we are 100% compliant with every SML employee having completed their ethics training for 2016. We're in the process of finalizing our plans for Staff Development Day, which is just, 2 weeks off. It's on Monday, October 10th at the Shreveport Convention Center, beginning at 7:30 with breakfast, and I hope you'll all be able to attend that. LaSalle had their annual conference in Shreveport last week, and SML was well represented. Caleb Schaefer, our e-branch manager, gave the keynote address on social media. Lindsay Attaway, who's our digitizer, gave a breakout session on the basics of digitization. And Lynn Schlater, Access Services Area Manager, gave a breakout session on training the trainer. And I've heard some good feedback on those sessions that they did. The final thing, I wanted to let you know, our online application process provides an opportunity for those who are interested to receive a notification every time a new position is advertised. To keep you informed, we can sign each of you up so that you get that notification. If you would prefer not to be signed up, let us know. But if we don't hear from you, we can just sign each of you up. So every time it goes out, you'll know.
It's strictly opt-out. If you don't tell us, you're getting put in. Very good. No? Oh, okay.
The final report,
Risk management,
the final report, I'm going to focus on maintenance. And we had we completed more than 2,270 projects during the last 2 months, which is higher than normal. And one of the things I'm really proud of is the new landscaping at the Walnut Library as you approach the front of the library. I know Dolores will be happy to hear some of these things that we're doing because it helps morale, it helps the public, it helps everybody all the way around. And we painted the meeting room at Broadmoor. You know, we noticed the wallpaper and stuff was getting a little shabby. We painted the 2-story stairway walls at North Caddo. And when we say it's not a minor thing, it's like 2 stories worth of stairway walls, so it's a big deal. We upgraded the exit lighting at Main, which was quite the undertaking when you imagine you've got a basement, 4 floors, and an attic, and all the fire equipment that's involved with doing that. We relocated large sections of shelving at Main and resituated that for them and their operations. We repainted the back entrance room at Main, you know, where you go in the back where the elevator is. And we added staff parking signage at Cedar Grove because every time the staff members would, you know, move their car to go to lunch or something, you know, patron would park there. And so we made their lives a little better by giving them designated parking. So whatever we can do to notice that we need to upgrade something, we'll do. Any questions?
No, thank you. That report. And now we have Ms. Myers.
I have nothing.
Nothing.
Yes, ma'am. I think you all done a great job, all of you, everybody, board, everybody. I'm just happy to have everything. And I'm retired. I'm retired now. Just retired from Caddo this year. Okay, but I wanted to say that in the minutes, it said that I may donate, of the book from, that I got from the library, conference. I was fully intending to donate that, and I did, to the Atkins, library. And, also, as we sat here talking, I was reminded that at some point we've done a tour of all our libraries, and I was thinking that maybe we should consider making a day, doing an annual tour with the board and whatever staff members who are able to go, to do especially the board, to do an annual tour of libraries and do lunch together.
That's
so it's fun.
I like that.
You know, that's board.
The only problem I see with that is that to make every branch in one day would probably cost me several speeding tickets. And we don't want to do that. So what we may do is we can take a look at, you guys decide if you want to do it maybe once or twice in a year, and we can divide them up and go north and south or inside. Or we decide how you want to do it. But trying to get to all of them in one day is almost impossible. I think we didn't even try, did we? No, we didn't even try.
So let's just think about that. How
Come to visit the country one day, so you can do it. We go to the country one day.
It's been a while since I've been all the way up to the Mean Spring.
Go from Belgium to where?
The Mean.
To Venice, right?
And it's gonna be somewhat difficult to do the part-time branches in one day because their hours vary. They're not all open on the same days and at the same time. So.
It took us what? It took at least 4 days for us to make different tours to get to all of them, trying to accommodate hours and distance.
That's a very.
It's a long parish. You just don't realize how long it is until you really start driving.
You drive a visit and you
Yeah.
figure out. And then I'm gonna say this too, I'm gonna inject this too. I'm not happy because I'm retired, I'm very sad because I'm retired, but I'm trying to find joy in everything else.
And you can't. Tom, did you?
Very happy with that.
Tom, did you have something?
Yes, since we're knocking some, I think I'm on here, since we're knocking some ideas around, I would just like to share with the board something that's particular of interest to me, and it has to do with children in school. We have a lot of disadvantaged children in school that need help. And I think, part of our mission should be to give them that help. And I talked to Mr. Tuggle about this, but I'd like to share it with the board. It's a little late this year, but I thought the library might be able to play a very important role in helping the children apply for scholarships. And I realize there's counselors at the school, but they have to be very careful that if they're going to help, they have to help everybody without being accused of discriminating in some way or not giving due time to a different applicant. I do know that a lot of children, they don't have the family support to help them complete that, or even research. We do have vehicles in place to help them research where scholarships are available. I thought it would be a good idea to at least look way up the road and say, is there something we could set up and announce these to the schools, through the schools, that assistance is available to help you complete all of the requirements of applying for various scholarships.
Good idea.
I think that the partnership with the virtual library part, there might be a way to work that, because they're going to have, access to reference sources that will help them find the resources for scholarships. I like that.
Yeah, what I was getting at more than anything is many of them just don't know where to start. They need that support to help them get that first line or paragraph. Some of them you have to write papers. Some of them you do have to submit certain fees, and maybe they don't know the resources that might be able to help them with that. So I just thought we could play a pivotal role by having maybe a specialist at a couple of branches and let them know that you can go there and get the help that you need.
In the meantime, could we have something on the website that gave links to the various,
And in
things
addition
you need
to
to
that,
fill out?
Ms. Fuller, our teen services person, is working on a whole host of classes, and part of the workshop, she's going to include information on scholarships and that. She's doing a general life skills workshop for teens. Who would have thought teens don't know how to boil eggs? So it starts with a simple program on how to feed yourself by boiling eggs, all the way to how to complete a scholarship application.
Put on a washing machine.
It's amazing the skills we picked up, they just don't have nowadays. It's kind of crazy.
Madam President, I think that was a wonderful idea that you just came up with, and you all have such a wonderful idea. And this is what I think that maybe we could consider doing, is just maybe coming together just for a brainstorming session with our ideas, because we have good ideas, and look at the status report that he gave us, and, you know, looking at some of the things that we did not meet, rather than thinking, oh, we could have done this, and I'm certain we could have met it, such as what you're talking about. That could have helped us to get closer to our goal in terms of having the children come, the 17,000 visits of children and teens that we didn't, we didn't meet that goal. And there are other things that we could probably brainstorm with staff to just be more proactive in trying to make these things work. And in terms of that scholarships that you're talking about, these kids need so much help with filling out that FAFSA form. They do not know how to do it, and parents do not know how to do it. So if the library can help them do that, that's another service that we can provide. There are all kinds of services, I feel. I mean, we're doing a great job, but greatness can always be improved. And I think that's what we have to look at doing.
Yeah, we're right in this age.
I'd like to say this, and once you say that, I choose the time, you got the best resource. Mr. You got the best, she's good. She's good, and she can get it. She said she needs something to do. She can, I'm not finished yet. And the other thing you say, she got that resource right there. She can do it now. See, now when she's trying to find something to do, we've been traveling away. So that's it. She's not happy, but we'll make her happy because she's the same thing. Okay?
Mr. Gary, you might have a new volunteer.
That's right. She will be good though.
All right, yes, ma'am.
Have we ever considered having a board retreat of any sort?
Not that I'm aware of.
That might be a good place to kind of do some brainstorming.
Kathy tells me we have had those in the past, so we could reconsider.
It might be a different.
It might be a different atmosphere,
Oh, okay.
environment. So that's good.
Training Barry Diamond, retreat.
Yeah.
But that really wasn't a retreat.
That's, I don't think that's what
The easiest possible, quickest way to get that done is to think about making it part of the strategic master plan.
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, it doesn't have to be anywhere we go away, just come
You
here.
want to do it annually, someplace like New York City.
Here, have lunch.
Come here, have lunch. Like Dolores said, brainstorm.
You had to say that, John.
Poke a little fun.
Anything else?
You need to decide on your next regular meeting date, let me know that is the Monday after
Yeah, that's for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
That's not Thanksgiving weekend.
That's the Monday after.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you, like, that's going on that time, yeah, we can.
Can we go?
Okay, with everybody?
It's okay.
All right. Our next meeting day, November 28th,
Okay.
2016.
When is that, before Thanksgiving or after?
No, it's the Monday after.
And that's the weekend of my class this year.
Yeah.
Y'all right about that.
That's what they call Cyber Monday.
Yeah, you know, you retired. Now you can do whatever you want to do.
It's 6:05, meeting stands adjourned.